The Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper. And now, Coach Bill Clark.
Welcome in. It's the Coach Bill Clark Show with Coach Bill Clark, Landrum Roberts, Molly Robinson. I'm Pat Smith. For the next 30 minutes, we hope to inform and entertain you as we do each and every week on this program. And it's brought to you by Buffalo Rock and Dr. Pepper. Coach, I hope you've had a good week. I hope your bracket has not been busted.
No, it is not. Since I hadn't made a bracket.
You didn't make a bracket.
I had really thought about it.
You're still following the rules.
Yeah. I said, yeah, really, that's what it's all
The
about.
NCAA doesn't matter anymore,
Coach, that's really lame.
True, but, you know.
So no one,
I'm
like
old school.
your son, your daughter, your
Now
wife, nobody has said,
My
hey.
son is I think he, let's talk about Katie. She, in her office, I think is number 3 out of 40. And they keep asking her, how is her bracket so good? And she's, I think, finally came clean and said, my brother. So Jacob did her bracket.
I got an idea. I got several ideas for different brackets.
No offense that girls can't do it because I saw Molly has hers on her wall.
Yes.
Yeah, that's big time. But Katie, no.
I got an idea for a bracket, though. So if you're not going to do the NCAA tournament bracket, why don't we do, in your defensive coordinator days, we do it like a bracket of offenses you wanted to face the least or gave you the most problems. Or, to make it a little spicier, Pat, I know you would like this, opposing coaches that you coached against that you really just personally
Despised.
Oh, okay. We'll need a whole show for that.
There are a few of them.
Really?
No.
Was there a
okay.
lot?
No, there wasn't.
I know who would be my 1 seed
Who?
for him. The guy who once resided in Hattiesburg.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I mean, you know, it's
Okay.
No, we made it very
well,
awkward for him now.
no, not really. I think it's just kind of life or death, you know, so not really competitive at all. There are some you like more than others and some you dislike. You say, yeah, you really like those guys you beat.
Okay, all right.
This is great.
You're enjoying this.
Yeah, this is good. This
Okay.
is good because we're going down a road that we did not anticipate. But hey,
I didn't know we were doing this today,
That's-
but
that-
go
We
ahead.
didn't either.
but
Welcome
yeah.
to our world every day.
Yeah, every day for 4 hours.
Since I'm on the hot seat here.
Yes. All right, so let's go back to your high school days.
Okay.
Not naming names. Did you feel like most of the people in your region you had a good relationship with, or was there maybe a few that you just wanted to beat the dog mess out of them every time you played them?
Both. Yeah. High school.
Was it kind of equal?
Probably more that you had a good relationship.
Okay.
And I think there was a respect for almost all. You know, I don't really look back at it. There was in high school, and I've said this so many times.
I mean, you beat the heck out of everybody.
Well, not necessarily, but
Now you did.
a lot of them. But
I mean,
Most of them.
you pull up your record. I mean, you lost like 4 games at Prattville.
people have
was it
Google.
not?
11.
It was 11.
I lost. We were
How many home games you lose at Prattville? Yeah, that's right.
None. You lost no games at Prattville.
0.
I did
At
lose
home
one.
game.
We did. We lost a playoff game.
Oh, that was a playoff game. We don't count playoff.
No, we're talking regular season.
Regular seasons.
Playoffs don't matter.
You didn't have your own officiating crew. I'm just kidding.
There were some people that did.
Well played. Oh, yes, they did. Yes.
It always helped us in the playoffs because we didn't. Our officials came from Montgomery.
Okay, so you
Who didn't necessarily
dominated.
love Prattville.
You dominated everybody in high school, and you made no enemies. Everybody loved you.
No, I don't think they all love me. I think that's the problem. I always said this: when the person you're playing lives across the interstate, like us, let's just use Stanhope, and we were a little bit bigger than Stanhope. They looked at us more as a rival. It was a rivalry from proximity.
Yeah.
But they weren't a 7A or 6A at the time than 7A, but really good teams. Jeff Foshee always did a great job. But I always said, when you go to church with some of their people, they live. I mean, you see them at the gas station. This is not like in college where they literally are
100 miles away.
Yeah, 100 miles away and or in another state. It's just a totally different feeling. And you would hear things like, things they would make comments or whatever would get back to you in high school. Because in college, it would have to be something said in the media almost. So it's a whole different mentality, really. In high school, it's tougher.
All right, so you go to Jacksonville State, the division that you guys were in, the conference you were in. Did you feel like you had better relationships with those coaches than you did in the high school level?
I feel like I had better relationships with the high school coaches. I didn't really know those guys. I've told the story so many times. I because I mean, this coach would tell. I've probably told you. We had our first media days. You know, I've taken the job. We'll go through spring. They're having media days in Nashville, and Coach Crow had won games, but another school had won. Eastern Kentucky had won back to back. And so I'm in these media days, and literally there's maybe one reporter asking me some questions. He was the local Anniston Star reporter, and coach from Eastern Kentucky everybody was around him. He'd won back-to-back years. And really, you know, we had met each other, but it wasn't like we had a 3-day, like, the bigger conferences like in Division I, you all go to the coast together and spend days together and actually become friends. And they're interviewing him, and I'm literally walking out the door, and the Anniston Star reporter says, well, what do you think about Bill Clark at Jack State? Now, of course, I'm a former high school coach, goes to South Alabama, kind of feel like I know kind of maybe what's thought about me. And I don't know that he necessarily means that, but he says, Bill Clark, I don't really know who he is, Jack Crow,
Nice.
or the Pillsbury Doughboy. I promise you we will be ready for Jacksonville State. So as I'm driving home, I'm calling every coach. We will be meeting, and we will be discussing Eastern Kentucky.
So that was the motivation you needed.
And I've talked to y'all a lot about this, and Dean Hood's a good coach. I mean, it was 62-0 in the third quarter of that game. And I've told so many coaches and so many players, don't give motivation to people that don't need motivation.
All right, so let me ask you, how was that midfield handshake after that game?
Well, we stopped. I mean, we literally start kneeling on it during the game.
Like midway through the fourth quarter?
We're trying not to score because it was. There's not enough points, And he said, I've never been beaten like that before.
That's what he said at midfield.
Yeah, at that time. He sees me at the coaching conference,
Did he change his tune the next
Yeah,
time?
but-
Did you follow up with you know my name now?
No, I didn't follow up with any
That's
of it.
Clark, no E at the end.
Yeah. No, I didn't follow up with any of that. It was just, he sees me, we're working out, we're at the coaches convention, and he just shakes his head.
You find yourself at the same breakfast table.
And we're in the weight room getting a workout in, he's shaking his head. And I said, yeah, it was just our night that night. I mean, you're not going to go tell.
Being humble. Being humble.
It was
oh,
our
yeah.
night. We're up
Yeah.
62-0.
We
We're
hit
kneeling
a
on it.
55-yard field goals. The clock was running out. It was just our
We
night.
were not running it up.
We had to work on our onside late in the fourth.
I will say this, though, to that question. I always tried hard not to motivate
Yeah.
the opponent. And you look at Steve Spurrier, guys like that who could care less. How much more ready are they going to be for me? You know what? And maybe they're going to be so mad that they do something they shouldn't. And I know coaches, as we were talking about Hattiesburg, coaches that go create things. Well, you didn't shake our hands. You didn't. You said something about our coach. And I mean, there's a lot of gamesmanship that goes on.
Our
with
players
that.
had COVID.
Yeah, all the above.
Phantom COVID.
Right. So, but I think for me, I was looking for, but that was one of those I didn't have to look for it.
It was right there.
It was there.
It was a gift.
It was a gift, and I always said, don't give those away.
All right, so that's at Jacksonville. So
Yeah.
you make the trip to UAB and Conference USA,
Yeah.
and then from Conference USA, the program comes back, and then you're in the American.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, did you feel like you had a really good rapport and relationship with those coaches in CUSA and the American?
Yeah, I think this is a good discussion because high school there was this. We know how everybody's working. You got a lot of maybe teach and do all these things just to get to coach. There was a lot of camaraderie there. Especially we started the coaching convention, the Alabama Football Coach Association, I helped start that. And then I go to Jack State, and we really don't know each other. Now, what happens in Conference USA, and I was referring to this a minute ago, we go to Destin, you're in meetings together, and so here I was, this high school coach who knew these guys, but you're sitting around the table, you're picking preseason, you're going through travel, you're going through all these things, you're in 2 days of meetings, and there becomes a friendship, a kinship amongst each other, which I think really helped. And I was not used to that. But we were not really well thought of when I got there. So it was
You're talking about UAB as a program.
UAB as a program. And, of course, like Skip. Let's use Skip, who's a great coach. And Skip, I would say that Skip was sitting here. Skip loves to talk. And so Skip would be talking in there, and so I'm sitting there.
He was at East Carolina at the time.
Well, no, then he was at La Tech.
Oh, La Tech.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So Skip was kind of holding, he was speaking a lot. When anything was brought up, I didn't say a lot. And Brom and I were very similar. We were both sitting there. He's at Western Kentucky. He's not saying a lot, and we come out, and he looks at me, and I look at him. We're both like, we're kind of the same kind of guy. Once again, Skip Holtz is great. All the things Skip was saying was good. It was just different people had their different personalities, but it was really good. Now, here's something I think people would find interesting. So the program gets shut down, right? We're out for 6 months. And I'll use Skip, for example. Program gets shut down. He calls me. I mean, that's how class this guy, he's a really good friend of mine now. But that's the thing. Here we are, people, and it was a genuine call. I still remember that, him calling me. But we're starting to bring the program back. And, it was Marshall. And, we had Marshall, if y'all go back to 14, they were undefeated. Games that I still think about that I felt like we blew. I mean, we had that game won, and we end up, and we go down, drive down there to win at the end, and they hold us, and they win the next week. They're undefeated. But so we're bringing the program back, and we really, and I've talked to you about the NCAA, we're not getting really they're not giving us anything to bring the program back other than the one thing, which was, all right, because you're not playing, these guys' clock is not going to tick, right? So you don't get extra scholarships, you don't get more time to recruit them really. But we will at least not tick their clock. So everybody, we're in the meeting. So I go to the meetings. It's the year before we play. I don't go in 15, but I go 16. Well, there's some people not happy with that. And I'm like, wait a second, we don't have a program. Doc Holliday was one of those guys that did not like the fact that, I said, we think we're getting we're not getting any special treatment. I mean, we're coming right back in 17 with no players. We're going around the country. And everybody was great, but he fought that, and I didn't forget that.
And I think in something that you're describing, it makes total sense. The empathy that you have, not only as a high school coach, because you know what the other guys are dealing with,
right,
and some of the internal struggles and hurdles that they have to clear, but also as a college coach, because it's so performance-based.
Yeah.
And there's so much that you can't dictate or control in a 60-minute game where you're counting on 18 to 22-year-olds, and you know that you could be fired.
Yep.
As good as it is this year, next year you could be out, and I think maybe there's something to that with you guys knowing, and the fraternal network that it is, and you never know when you might need a job down the road.
Well, and I tell the Eastern Kentucky story. I mean, the game's over. We're shaking hands. It was just a mistake in gamesmanship more than it was animosity. Now, people that you felt like didn't do it the right way, or arrogance is things that always has not set well with me. But for the most part, and you see coaches talking before the game, and it was always strange to me, especially when we play the SEC schools. Like, well, y'all are an SEC team. I'm like, are you crazy? Financially, we're not in the same hemisphere, But they were nice, and I said, well, shoot, we're not going to sneak up on these guys, which is what I would have loved to have done.
First impressions sometimes are misleading. Was there ever that at the college level, that zany coach where you said, man, what is this guy about? This is the most unconventional, like, that's just wacky. I can't fathom that the guy has success, and then you have a whole newfound respect. I would think that some people were probably that way with Mike Leach.
Yeah. And I knew Mike when he was at Valdosta State, and of course at that time somebody sitting around with flip-flops on, even in the summer, was strange. And really it wasn't. We remember the different days of coaching. As I say, remember coaching for my dad in 1987, and you get 2 T-shirts, 2 pair of shorts, and a pair of shoes that, remember those spot built that you couldn't. I always said nuclear bomb could not have destroyed those shoes.
You had the bike shorts.
Can we just have some tennis shoes? But just the apparel or the attire or whatever that was. But most of the coaches you had a real respect for. How hard they'd worked, and like I said, it was just what kind of advantage could we find? And that's what I was always looking for.
So staying on that theme of a relationship on the Bill Clark Show, covering Alabama and Auburn, I was very fortunate very early in my career. Gene Stallings and Terry Boughton did not care for each other.
Yeah.
And to the point to where they would end up calling each other and basically having some animated conversations on the telephone about potential recruiting and things of that nature that was going on that wasn't sitting well with one guy and the other one and vice versa. Did you ever have that in your coaching career, whether it was at the high school level or once you got into college football, where you had to take a phone call or you had to pick up the phone and actually have one of those difficult conversations with a coach?
Yeah, I did at UAB when a coach tried to get some, and of course this is the world now, but at that time he was trying to take one of our players to the school. He had left UAB and then had gone to another school and was trying to take one of our players, and we found out about it. And I picked the phone up and called him. Of course, he denied it, but I knew it was true. There was other things. There was times, in high school where kids would try to come to our school, and I picked the phone up and called their coach. This happened multiple times where I'd say, look, I'm just telling you, John Smith is sitting in my office. And I said, if he moves here, he's here. Just like if my guy moves to you, but him saying he's wanting to come play at Prattville, I just want you to know, we ain't called him. I don't know. And they would be appreciative, and I told a guy, I've told him many times, I said, now, if you make a bona fide move, sure. You show up in my office, you make a bona fide move, hey, we welcome you. Just like if my guy left you, but I made a few of those calls. That was always appreciated. A lot of the things would always be interesting listening to the press conference of the other coach. And I just always said, he is going to listen to every word I say, just like we listen to what he says. And it would be amazing the guys that would talk a lot. I just never understood that. Why would you say things that could be used
against them?
In one thing.
Right.
When you work basically 365 days a year for this win, and you're going to give something away, but that's the edge you're looking for.
Fact or fiction when it comes to alliances at the college level? I'm going to just throw out a scenario for you. You are playing a team. If you beat Team X, then other team that you have already played, they're going to win a regular season title or they're going to earn a spot in a championship game. Is it fact or fiction that staffs in that position, let's just say they're school X, you need to win to benefit them, they're not in the game, will facilitate and help your staff to prepare for the opponent?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think if they see there's a win for them in it, and this is what you always find is these guys all know each other, the guys that are off the field, and they're trying to find, they got a guy who's at another school, hey, what did you pick up? So when you talk about a guy standing on the sideline in different garb, that's different. But they're trying to get every single thing they can get. And so that's going on with you, that's going on with someone. And if it will benefit them, or they just don't like you.
Right.
They're tired of you winning. They're tired of you, or you're at the top of the league. Let's see if we can knock them off. So I just always try to explain to my guys, and this happened all the time. I said specifically it was Alabama, because Saban would bring these guys in, and then they would go. They'd go get another job. And it could be analyst, because there's 100-something guys in that building, right? They're an analyst, they're a GA, they're whatever. And they end up, and I won't say in school because I don't have any in mind, but it happened almost every week. I said, if this guy was at Alabama, he is well thought of by the coaches in the state of Alabama because he was at Alabama.
Yeah.
Or he was at Auburn. So they think, this is a guy I know. So all of a sudden, he calls them and says, hey, what are they doing over at UAB? And I said, this is going to happen. I said, because they got somebody over there. Watch this happen. When some coach at a high school is going to call us and ask if he can come to practice this week. It happens every week almost.
Unbelievable.
And you'd be like, nope. I said, now, spring. And it was just if they could think they could help this guy. They were a buddy. They knew somebody. And I always was so. It's the same thing with NFL scouts. And you got to have those guys in. You got to treat them. And 99% of them are as above board and ethical. But it just takes that one guy who wants to come in there and stay your whole practice. And so you create rules of you watch all the film you want. You've got X amount of time. And now a true guy, the NFL scout, would say that would never happen. And most of them it never would. And that they didn't like to hear, that wasn't something we talked about. I just said, hey, you've got a time at the first of practice. I don't want to give anything that could create a problem. Because you don't know who knows who.
Right.
And 99% of them would never do that.
But you had to have safeguards.
Yeah, you had to have safeguards. I mean, it's just, like I said, it was too important. There was too many lives on the line. We'd worked too hard, et cetera.
Smart Bank, one of our fine sponsors here, a bunch of smart people that know a lot about money.
Yeah, I think we're talking about being smart here, and I think that's the things. Just using the name Smart Bank, I think they're doing a really good job of really being the bank for people. The small town bank that a lot of us got to grow up on, where we knew our bankers. They knew your name when you go in the building, but they've got all the tools that you need of a big bank. So Smart Bank, go check them out.
Coach, one thing that we love to talk about on this is getting inside the mind of a coach. And I know spring practice is going on right now, but let's kind of fast forward a couple weeks. Spring practice is over with. You as a coach, is that the time at the college level?
College, okay.
That you could take your family and you could go somewhere and kind of unplug at least for a little while before you get back going? Or was this 24/7, 365?
Yeah, that's not the time, because it's based on when you go. But you're really going right into spring recruiting. And now the portal is coming open. So really now, the rule that the head coach could not go out in the spring, really, it was good for the head coach, because that's the only time you really had a chance to really be in the office and have your people getting back to you. So for me, it was, you got guys everywhere, and I'm just making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then I've got all the guys that are there. We're finishing up maxes. We're getting ready for a Maymester, June, July, et cetera. So it's it's a relaxing time a little bit, but you're doing recruiting, but it's not a time you can really take off. That's really for the summer, and I'd always build 2 weeks around the 4th. That was always our time to take off and go.
Could you relax?
No, you never relax. It's not game day, so that was a time you would breathe based on what happened in the spring. Spring was always so great. That's my favorite time, just because I love to teach. I love to train. And ours, y'all been in our practice. They were so competitive. If we could come out of there with no injuries, I always knew if we could do what we were trying to do in the spring, they were going to get better. If they, it was just staying healthy. And then you start saying, uh-oh, I'm worried about this spot. Who's coming in the summer? Who can we get in here now? Who can come in there and help alleviate or create depth? And of course, I have not been in this. Now all of a sudden guys can leave you again. It's just insane.
So the people that you are still remain very close to in the coaching profession, how are they dealing with this right now? Because, we've known you for a long time, and we know how charged up you are. And even if you do get those 2 weeks during 4th of July, you really never turned it off. What is going through these minds now of these head coaches, and how can they have a life really outside of football?
I don't know. I don't know how, and it's the thing that never shuts off. I had a head coach tell me who handled all the deals. He made sure he was involved, and we were talking about another coach who basically his GM does it all, and he's almost like, well, I hope you get that deal to the player. Even though he knows what's going on, he's removed himself to a degree. Maybe smart. Maybe he's going to give him longevity. But I had the head coach tell me, and he's a guy I consulted with, and he's like, every time I get a player call me now, I'm almost sick. They're going to ask me for more money. It's just so prevalent. And as we've said, I'm saying it for the 1,000th time, not against the players getting money. Glad they're getting paid. It's just the having to constantly worry about it and change, and the constant of people trying to get your guys. It's just the structure of it, not that we're paying players.
Were there down? And I know you and just how you're wired.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like everybody being in that building, there's always something to do.
Yeah.
Were there less volume days for your staff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Once we got past that recruiting, the time, May for us was voluntary. Now, this is a big deal. This happened to me at Jack State and happened to me at UAB. They got out of school earlier. Now, this is a rule that if they are not, so if you finish up, make sure I say this correctly, if you finish up and there's a Maymester, there's a time in there that if you're not in class, first thing, if you're not in class, they can't give you a scholarship. You can't get a scholarship check. So I'm at Jack State and at UAB, and I said, well, they've got to be in this May semester. We finished earlier at both schools finished a little bit earlier, where the other schools went on in, a little bit longer, and so it was just an automatic. You were still getting a check. And I said, well, we got to put them in these May classes. Well, we'd let them go in the month of May. I said, they're still paying a lease. And as more guys went out of a dorm and into apartments, that apartment lease doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So you would have thought it was an act of Congress to get, and I would explain to the guys at UAB, we're paying for our guys to go in, even though it's voluntary. So that had to be on the players, but we had to put them in a class, and I'd have to explain to guys, you got to be in a class to get a check. And we've got to pay for it. And it was amazing that was a talk I even had to have, even at the end of, you understand they've got to be in the May classes so we can give them a check, because somebody's going to have to pay their apartment that is a 12-month lease. That doesn't, just things like that you have to stay on top of.
One thing that you can stay on top of is Donahue Chevrolet and that Tahoe that, I'll be honest, looks like you need to take it through the car wash again.
Pollen.
I'd say
Pat.
pollen. Yeah, pollen's my answer. But our guys at Donahue do a great job. Obviously, Chevy is a great brand, and they carry a lot of brands, but Chevy is the brand. And of course, we love the Tahoe, and as does my daughter. She has a Tahoe as well. But they have other things. They have a lot of specials going on. Check our guys out at Donahue.
All right, so I know you don't have a bracket. We only got a couple minutes left in the show, but your thoughts on both Alabama and Auburn, heavy favorites going into this weekend. Do you think by Sunday evening most of the people in the state of Alabama are going to be pretty happy?
I do. I really do. I tell you, it is, and we could get here and talk X's and O's, but man, it is so interesting to watch the evolution of the game. So many people are really playing like Alabama. And of course that goes back to who was it? The guy, he's on CBS now. He was it Villanova?
Jay Wright.
Jay Wright.
Yeah.
That were so 3-point centric.
Yeah.
But just the amount of screens that are going on off the ball to get this guy this shot. I love watching the coaching. And then even with that, and we talked about last time, you're still scoring, but you're playing defense. And of course, Florida was, after watching them in the SEC tournament, I said, man, it's Florida. But I thought Alabama and Auburn both played well, and I think they're both going.
And now the level of the athlete that you get, because you get a 6'11", a 7-footer, and it's not like the 6'11", 7-footers we remember from back in the day. These guys are super athletic.
Yep.
A lot of times they could be more athletic than one of your swingmen. And they're going out and they're guarding a 6'3" point guard and coming off ball screens and everything else and going step for step with those guys. To your point, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I know that's a European model, but I would just say start them out as guards. Why not?
Yeah.
And then they learn how to handle the ball. They learn how to shoot in the
And then if you grow to 8 inches, you hit that growth spurt.
Right. And I think we're seeing more and more of that. But I tell you, of course, Duke was they were impressive in their last game. But it's fun just to watch the athletes, the coaching, and the way the game has changed. It's very interesting.
Global Canine Protection Group, another fine sponsor here of the program. Alabama company.
Yeah, this is a veteran-owned company. You see these canines really all over there in Alabama at different universities. Do such a good job keeping us safe. They're at checking for bombs and guns and all those things, and really proud to have them associated with us. Also,
got to thank our title sponsor, which is Buffalo Rock, Jimmy Lee, fine folks there, Dr. Pepper, and of course the Pepsi Group that Landrum drinks about 15 gallons every single day.
Love your product. Thank you.
But Buffalo Rock, fine sponsor here, been with us from day one.
Yeah, since day one, and and they do so much for so many different places around here. So philanthropic. Appreciate them and Dr. Pepper as well.
Should be a fun weekend as Coach is going to be a perfect on his bracket this weekend.
He's undefeated.
That's what he.
We'll do the offenses and the defenses and some of those things.
Yeah, it all makes sense though now, Pat.
It does. Very much so.
Coach doesn't like to lose.
Just win, baby.
And he certainly doesn't want to lose. Like, I don't know, what's your bracket look like?
I mean, I've got 3 of my final four teams still alive.
One of my brackets, the South region, looks great.
So you just do multiple brackets?
I did this year. Decided to. Yeah. Keep it interesting. My wife's actually.
That's not cheating.
She's doing really well.
So you can have multiple brackets.
You can have multiple brackets.
Okay.
Yes. That's going to do it for us on the Coach Bill Clark Show. For Molly Robinson, Landrum Robertson, Coach Bill Clark, I'm Pat Smith. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on the Coach Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper.
This has been the Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper.